my life, I say, well, I know my life is finite. All of us have finite lives. But there's that interesting tension between the finiteness, or I guess that's the right word, of our individual lives and the infinite extension of time. And so I think for me, I find a lot of value, a lot of meaning in the idea that while life is finite, the influence that we can have in the world for people who follow us doesn't have that limitation. And if we can move the world in a slightly more positive direction through our efforts, it gives me the ability to leave the world whenever it is my time comes with a greater feeling of comfort. Now, in my work, Viktor Frankl's insight has helped me to focus on those sources of value for the parties that we work with that are spiritual in nature, that have to do with what gives meaning for them. Sometimes it's the connection they have with a family member. Sometimes it's the connection they have with some mission in their lives. But whatever it is that resonates for them, our work gives us this wonderful opportunity to help them connect with the deepest sources of meaning and value in their lives. What an amazing blessing it is to be able to work on that project to help people find those sources of meaning in their lives. Daniel Bowling and I edited a book called Bringing Peace into the Room. And I believe that when we help people find those sources of meaning and value, we're helping them find peace in themselves. And so that's a value, for me, that's a valued part of the work. I also want to reflect on what a gift it's been to be among this larger community of dispute resolvers, of which you and I are a part. And this very large project, which you're involved in, of weaving together the many strands of dispute resolution work and study. And what the image that it brings to mind comes from a line in Exodus where God says to Moses, you, meaning the Hebrew people, shall be a nation of priests and a holy nation. And that phrase, a nation of priests, is fascinating because the idea of priest signifies hierarchy in a way. But the statement was one that was very democratic. You shall be a nation of priests. You shall all be priests. And so when I meet my fellow dispute resolvers, I think of ourselves as being called to duty, called to service, in the interest of making the world a better place. We are a nation of priests. And when we come together at conferences like this one and other conferences, I think about how blessed we are to be called to service with people who have this very strong intention of making the world a better and more peaceful place. Now, peaceful doesn't mean there's no conflict. Quite the contrary. It means that we recognize conflict, we embrace conflict, we figure out ways to resolve it that are creative, constructive, and consistent with our deepest values. So Boston Law Collaborative is a group of lawyers, mediators, and other professionals working in a multidisciplinary setting. Doing that as a lawyer is slightly complicated because there are ethical rules that say that we can't be in a partnership with people in other professions. But we can practice together. And we do that by having an LLC, which is what Boston Law Collaborative is, limited liability company, and affiliates who are not members of the firm, but who work with the firm. So, for example, Richard Wallman, who's a psychologist and who is in our office and with us 5 days a week. He's an affiliate of the firm. And the reason why we can do that is because we don't share fees with Richard. He bills his clients separately. And we don't share governance with Richard. So it is lawyers who are part of the LLC, and it is folks with other occupations who are our affiliates. Susan Miller is a financial professional, is one of our affiliates. We also have inside the firm a psychotherapist, Vicki Sheeman, who is also a lawyer. We are pretty much all of us trained as mediators. Some of us do parenting coordination work, guardian ad litem work. But the basic concept behind multidisciplinary work is really, there are two elements to it. One is that we can provide more holistic services for our clients by having this range of services. And the second aspect is we learn so much from each other. My practice is very much informed by things that I learn from watching Susan and Richard and Vicki do that are different from the things that my instincts and my training incline me to do. So I love working with them because it's like being part of a seminar. And they shape and improve my practice tremendously. In terms of the client's needs, their problems are multidimensional. There are financial aspects, psychological aspects, legal aspects, and having one place that they can come where those problems can be looked at through a team effort, I think we provide better service than if we were one-dimensional in our approach. Also, we've decided that we want to be a firm that provides a range of services. We mediate, we arbitrate, we do collaborative law, we engage in a form of practice that we use cooperative negotiation agreements. We are willing to handle a case where there's no collaborative agreement or cooperative agreement, just ordinary negotiation. And if necessary, we're willing to litigate. Now, right at the beginning of our conversation with a client, a prospective client, we need to figure out with the client what's the right process for their case. And we may start with one process and we may shift to another. Now, I deeply respect colleagues who have chosen to only mediate or to only do collaborative practice. And it seems to me that they add tremendous value by focusing their practices in that way. And if that feels right for them, if that feels like right livelihood for them, I applaud it, I support it. Our field has room for people with all kinds of different approaches to the work that they do. I enjoy working with a group of colleagues. I enjoy working in these various different settings because I think they inform each other. I like the ability to form a relationship with a client and help them figure out what's the right process for them. Because the formation of a relationship with the client is a very key part of what we do. That feeling of connection and trust, chemistry, is a very powerful piece of what enables us to help them. And so I would be uncomfortable if someone came to me and said, I want to do mediation, can you help us do mediation? And after talking with them, getting to understand their situation a little better, if I had to say, well, I actually don't think your case is appropriate for mediation. I think it's appropriate for collaborative law or for some other process, and then refer them out. Sometimes there's a question of matching the right person in the office with the case, and I like working with a variety of people who have different strengths. So that's what Boston Law Collaborative is a part of what we're about.